Welcome back to the Today with Tally podcast. Folks, we have a great show in store for you today. We are sitting down with the co-founder and the executive director of Wreaths across America. But first,
hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Today with Tally. The mission and goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Today with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. Ladies and gentlemen, your host of the evening, Mr. Brian Tally.
folks, we've got a great show in store for you today. And boy, I tell you what, it's not every day you have the opportunity to sit down with a family that has literally put themselves on the map because of a childhood experience that was had. And to sit down with the co-founder and the executive director of Wreaths Across America that everybody really knows of. I mean, these people are out laying wreaths. They have volunteers all over America during the holiday season, and typically they'll put out more than 2 million of these wreaths. But I want to set this up before I bring in Karen Worcester, who is the executive director and the co-founder of Wreaths Across America. Now, Morrill Worcester, he's the owner of Worcester Wreath Company of Harrington, Maine. Was a 12-year-old paper boy when he won a trip to Washington, D.C. It was his first visit to our nation's capital and one that would change the trajectory of his life and the lives of millions of others across the country. Seeing the hundreds of thousands of graves in the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery made a especially indelible impression on him. It was to be an experience that would follow him throughout his life and successful career, reminding him that his good fortune was due in large part to the values of his nation and the veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country. In 1992, Worcester Wreath found themselves with a surplus of wreaths nearing the end of the holiday season. Remembering his boyhood experience at Arlington, Worcester realized he had an opportunity to honor our country's veterans. With the aid of former Maine Senator Olympia Snowe, arrangements were made for the surplus wreaths to be placed at Arlington in one of the older cemetery sections that had been receiving fewer visitors each passing year. Folks, and the rest is history. And with that, we are honored to be joined by the co-founder and the executive director of Wreaths Across America, Karen Worcester. How are you, ma'am?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on, Brian. And I'm telling you, you sound just like you came from Maine.
Worcester. Yeah, see, when I look at that, I'm like, well, that says Worcester. But no, it's Worcester.
Yeah, well, we don't have any R's up here. We don't use them at all in anything, so shorten things up. But thank you for having me on. I'm always excited to talk about Wreaths Across America and the mission that it's become.
Absolutely. And we're honored to have you. I've known about this tremendous nonprofit, if you will, right? Is this a nonprofit organization?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
so, go ahead.
Well, I can tell you a little bit of the story. It did start back in 1992, like you said, and my husband didn't serve in the military. He was in college during Vietnam, but he's always been very patriotic. And we had worked in that wreath business, in the balsam business, supplying major catalog companies and wholesale markets and all that for years. Well, this particular year, he had a surplus of wreaths and wanted to do something meaningful. We have 6 kids. 3 of them were here at that time. Some were born after that. But he wanted to do something for them. And he remembered being at Arlington, got permission to go, and they loaded up the truck, got a volunteer trucking company, Bluebird Ranch Trucking Company, stepped up, They had 5,000 wreaths. They went down to section 27, which is actually the Civil War section. And there are a lot of unknowns buried there. It's very interesting. And it took them all day, a handful of people, to place the wreaths. But as they placed the wreaths, it was so personal. They couldn't help but saying the names and wondering about these young men and women that were engaged in this heinous war, that took so many lives. And so when they got home, they just said, well, we need to do this. We need to do it as long as they'll let us. So we actually went to Arlington as a family, the Worcester family and Bluebird Ranch and a handful of volunteers from 1992 up until 2005. It was just a family. We'd take 5,000 wreaths to Arlington. They'd have us do a different section every year. And in 2005, we actually had been all around the cemetery. We're back to section 27. And it happened to be the first year that I was able to go because some of the kids were old enough to run the business. And a photographer from the Pentagon took a picture of those wreaths against the graves and the snow and put it on the Pentagon website. And it went viral. And all of a sudden, it wasn't a secret what the family was doing. And my husband, God love him, he does have an email. He still doesn't use it ever. Secretary takes all of his messages and all that. But by January of 2006, he had received thousands and thousands of emails. Thousands of people were calling. Is this true? And it was very common for someone to call that might be serving, in a foreign country and just say, is this true? Did you do this? And then they'd cry. And then they'd just start sharing their stories with us. So our lives changed drastically. 2006, we continued to get all these calls and people wanting us to send wreaths to their cemeteries. And so my husband came up with the idea that we couldn't send every cemetery 5,000 wreaths. So he came up with a plan to do what he calls the ceremonial wreaths. That's one for each branch of the military plus POW, MIA. And so anybody that wanted wreaths, we would say, okay, we're going to send you these wreaths and you can just have a ceremony, like we have a little ceremony at Arlington. By the end of the year, when it got time to go to Arlington, we'd been asked to stop in communities. They said, on your way, can you stop here and talk about veterans and what you're doing? The Patriot Guard Riders joined us to be an escort to take those wreaths to Arlington. And when we got to Arlington that year, instead of it being just 12 people, there were a couple thousand people there. And there was media, more than 70 media outlets from literally all over the world. So you can imagine how that changed our lives. So we didn't set out to do this. But over that year, we learned a lot from talking to veterans and Gold Star families as to just what we could do with what we were doing, how we could teach. And teach became the most important thing. The mission, remember, honor, and teach, teaching kids the value of freedom. And so in 2007, we became a 501c3. So that's the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, it's incredible how the vision of a 12-year-old boy has morphed into this international, really, phenomenon here. I mean, really,
in fairness, he didn't, because when he was 12, he was just barely behaving himself because he was that kid. But he never forgot the vastness of it and the impact of it. So when we did have the wreaths and the beauty of Wreaths Across America is so many people that volunteer give of what they have. And what we had as a family to give to show appreciation was wreaths. And today people give to not only by sponsoring wreaths to go on individual graves, but the trucking industry. 90% of the wreaths, and this year it will be 3 million wreaths, 90% of those will go on volunteer trucks, which we couldn't carry out the mission without them because it actually costs more to ship a wreath than it does to make a wreath. So everybody comes together. The volunteers in each community pull it together, the services and the sponsorship. So everybody gives with what they have, and that's what makes it so special.
Now, let's talk about the wreaths. How many people are involved in this, and how do you guys make these wreaths? I mean, there's got to be a very vast farm here that you guys have got a lot of trees on or whatever. Like, describe it, like how you guys put all this stuff together, and how long does it take to prepare to lay out these
Well,
wreaths?
that's the kind of the other side of the coin, and actually it's not a given that my husband's company will do the wreaths. It's actually put out for a bid, an RFP process. It's handled by a third party, so that gives the organization the best chance to have the best value for what we're doing. So we do have an RFP process that's carried out by third party every 3 years, and so far, my husband has retained the bid. As far as what he does, how they do it, we have thousands and thousands of acres of land that have to be groomed and cared for because the balsam is being shipped all over the country. And in fact, we've made 2 trips overseas to place wreaths overseas. They have to be disease free, and it's a pretty huge operation. And they work about 900 people. They start in late October, and they go right up until probably the 13th of December. It takes a lot of hands. People are very proud to be involved in the process. The community, a little community of about 400 people. We get very big that time of year because we have workers that come in, and we have trucking companies that come in from all over the country. They'll come here to get loads of wreaths to take back to their communities. So it's impressive. We even have it's only open during that time of the year, but my husband actually built a trucker's lounge so that these drivers that come in have a place to be when they're loading up the wreaths. And Tyson Foods comes in, and last year they cooked 2,500 free meals for these drivers that were coming in to volunteer their services to take the wreaths. So it's kind of a microcosm of giving and caring for each other and coming together for a common good, which is to remember, honor, and teach, and especially teach our kids to see a good example of working together.
Absolutely. And as you say, remember, honor, and teach. You guys coordinate a massive logistical operation at more than 4,000 locations in all 50 U.S. states at sea and abroad. Now, this big day for you guys this year is going to be December 16th. And really, here since 2008, Congress proclaims a Saturday in December as National Wreaths Across America Day. How does that make you and your family feel that you guys are such a large part of the remembrance of that remember, honor, and teach, and especially so many of these folks that are out laying these wreaths are children?
Yeah, about a third of children there. We have close to 3 million volunteers, about a third of kids. But I do want to say that the volunteerism here is incredible. Every location has a volunteer who pulls a ceremony together, and then they'll get a group together and they'll go out and get sponsorships. Now, if somebody's listening and we're not in your area and you want to get started, my husband still donates ceremonial wreaths to anybody that wants to start that way with a ceremony. So if it's not a cemetery, if it's a monument at your Legion Hall and you want to come together to remember the veterans in your community, you go to wreathsacrossamerica.org. You can sign up as a ceremony only, and those will come to you absolutely free. Or you can sign up to have your community sponsor individual wreaths. But it's all done on the local level. We have a very hyper-local organization. And honestly, we get a lot of credit, my husband and I. My staff is incredible. You know, we have about 40 people that work year round. We're not just an organization that's just about laying those wreaths. We have a radio station, you know about that, which is quickly becoming the voice of the American veteran, where we collaborate with, I think we have 27 other podcasts right now that are making things available to veterans to help with causes. We have a full teach curriculum that is put together by a Gold Star mom based on courage, character, patriotism, responsibility. It is being downloaded for free off our website by the thousands. People are hungry for that kind of education for the kids. It's through grade 12, and it's also available free on Teacher Pay Teacher. We have our mobile education exhibit that carries that same mission all over the country. It goes to schools and businesses we work with other organizations like the Vietnam Commemorative, Ike Eisenhower Foundation, the Medal of Honor Society, the Random Acts of Kindness. We always work with other organizations, including 501c3s. And we have our $5 back program that gives back for every wreath sponsorship, gives $5 back into that community 501c3. We've given back $22 million to date to help local veterans in their own communities through these volunteers. So and then the logistics. You're right about the logistics piece. And we have volunteers, we have staff, but we also have professionals in the logistics industry who step in that time of year to help us. So that's what amazes me, that people, you don't hear a lot in the news about people being good, but when you get down here on the ground level, people are good and they care about the veterans.
Sure. Like you were talking about the transportation, it's very important. You got to, there's a lot of trucking involved here. I was on your website and I saw, you guys have at least 200 trucking partners that do this for you?
Yeah, it's way more than that now. And I wish I could give you the exact, I think last year it was like 400 companies, but it will be more this year. And they're big companies, small companies, some guy who has his own truck who was a veteran who just wants to participate. And it's a lot. It's a huge operation because most of our sponsorships, and like I said, this year we're online to do 3 million. Most of those sponsorships don't even come in until Thanksgiving. So we have to process them, turn them around, get them on the trucks and get them delivered to be laid by the 16th of December. So it just speaks so well to the spirit of the American people when something's important to people. And, people ask me what keeps me going. And a few years ago, Roger Donlin, who was the first Medal of Honor recipient of the Vietnam War, I asked him, Roger, what's the most important thing we can do as an organization? And he answered, teach the kids to love our country. And that's what we try to do. That's what we hope to do through Wreaths Across America.
So Karen, this is a one-day event, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
Placing the wreaths is a one-day event, yes.
So you literally have 3 million volunteers. You have all these wreaths out ready to go, and all these volunteers come out on one day, which will be December the 16th of this year. And you guys get this all done in just one day to lay 2 million wreaths.
Actually, we work our hind ends off all year. So many people work so hard. Just imagine that, the sponsoring and the putting together the events. And some of these large cemeteries, if they're getting 20,000 wreaths, think about it. The placing them down, making sure they get cleaned up. A lot of people looking for recycle opportunities and teach opportunities. And just by virtue of how they gather sponsorships as a teaching mission, when kids go out and say, would you like to sponsor a wreath for a veteran? You can just hear somebody saying, yes, my dad served or my brother served. And so there's this teaching, this giving back and forth that goes on year round. But I remember early on when it got found out what we were doing and people wanted to do it in other places, I said, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if we all did it at the same time? So I remember my son-in-law and I calling we called the office of, I can't remember what it was, but it was the President's Commission on Remembrances or something. And we wanted to know if we could get this done all in one day. And they said, no, it's not possible. And so we had 2 calls. And the second time we talked to them, they said, no, it's not possible. So then we went to the Civil Air Patrol, which is an auxiliary of the Air Force. And this kid's 12 and up. My couple of my kids belong to that. And we said, we want to do this all on the same day. And they said, sure, we're in every community. And so that first year, with that, 2006, we sent ceremonial wreaths to, I don't know, maybe 150 places, and the Civil Air Patrol and a few VFWs and American Legions. And we had the ceremony all at the same time. And we just kept doing that. And people are fantastic about it. And you've been up in Alaska. Let me tell you what, their time zone is different than ours. And they're still out there clearing the snow and placing the wreaths at the same time. We had wreaths placed in Baghdad in the middle of the night
Wow.
to be participating with us. It's that important. And when you think about anybody, no matter what you celebrate during the holidays, if people are getting ready for the 25th, The 16th is a pretty busy weekend, and people take that time and take their families and go into these cemeteries. I'll tell you, the year before COVID, um, I was standing on top of the Women's Memorial at Arlington watching people come through the gate, and the cemetery authorities stopped counting volunteers at 90,000. 90,000 people came to just Arlington alone that year to place wreaths. It means something. You know, we tell people when you place a wreath to say the name. We believe that a person dies twice. The first time when their heart stops beating, the life leaves their body, but the final time is when their name is spoken for the very last time. So when we place 3 million wreaths, we also will say 3 million names, and we'll be doing exactly what Gold Star families and those left behind want us to do, and that's to never forget and to keep their memory of their loved ones alive, because that's our history as well. Kids need to know that.
Absolutely. A massive day of reflection. And I love the amount of children that are out participating in this and learning this and the value of what service and what sacrifice mean to this country. And, that this Liberty Bell here at home wouldn't be ringing, if you will, if it wasn't for the brave men and women who, again, have sacrificed everything for this country and have signed that blank check for up to and including their life. And for you and your husband to be able to create something so special and for it to morph into what it has is nothing short than a miracle, really. Again, the vision of a 12-year-old kid and then remembering back during that very first trip to the nation's capital and then getting into the business and then just exploding the way it has. Again, it's got to make you and your family just feel so great inside, knowing that you guys are serving a great populace of this country, and a populace.
I think they're serving the country. I think, like I say, we get way too much credit. We didn't set out to do something. We were doing something that was important to us. It was important to us as, you know, we understood what it was to have the opportunity to raise our kids and teach them the way we wanted to and live not in fear, you know. And I will tell you, the only time in my adult life that I ever thought I might not live in freedom was 9/11. But I always think about 9/12 and how the country come together and people, you know, ran towards the gunshots and ran in to protect us. And one of the things we do, we have a theme every year. And this year our theme is to serve and succeed, because we think it's important for kids today to get a different look at people in the military than what they see when they turn on the TV. They see a lot of people raising money for wounded warriors and people who need homes and all the other needs that veterans have. But that's the picture that they have of veterans. And we want to work with those people. We want to make sure those needs are met. But we want kids to understand that there's a great opportunity in the military and that many, many, many people serve, take those skills they learn and go on to do great things and continue to serve. So this year, like I said, our theme is serve and succeed. And we're hoping to work even more with recruiting people to show kids what a great opportunity it is to serve in the military. And you know that, sir, as a Marine. It's certainly impacted your life and how you feel about the country and how you feel about the future.
Sure. You know, and again, you never know who you guys or what this organization and what this event will be. Who will be the next person? Who is that next 12-year-old that will be inspired when they are out there laying that wreath, and the experience and the memories that they will take with them forever as they build their life and as they begin to raise their family. And they'll always remember, you know, what it was like to give back for that one day of remembrance. Now, what does the background look like? Again, this is a massive logistical operation full of millions of people
You're
and a lot of
me a little bit. It seems pretty easy on this end. Now you're scaring me.
What does the background look like? I know that this is a 12-month process here. So what does it look like before December 16th?
So we hit the ground running, of course, the day after. We're actually the day of. We're looking towards the next year, and we go out and we start the teach mission. And then we have people that work in our logistics that they keep nurturing their relationships with the trucking industry. We just keep putting information out. Like we have special things that we do all year long that people can participate and send it around our teach mission, and just so many other things that we do. We have a program we call STEM to Stone, where we invite people to come to Maine. I'm inviting you right now, Brian, to come to Maine and participate in STEM to Stone, where people get to see that, how it starts with the trees and the whole process to getting them on the trucks and being delivered. And we do other things, started another simple idea that my husband, he's a great idea man. We had a couple Gold Star mothers here. It's been probably 10 years ago. They loved going out on the land where the tips are grown. And he had a dog tag made for them with the name of their loved one who they lost. And he had them pick a tree, any tree. And he said, that's your tree. I'm just going to use the branches every third year. We're going to harvest those branches, make them into wreaths, and send them to be put on a veteran's grave. Well, these two ladies were completely overcome. To them, it was like a living memorial, that their dog tag was there, that every third year it would touch some other life. So they're very good friends, so I can say this. They had very big mouths, and they went back to their conventions, and they told people about having the dog tag on the tree. And now there are more than 17,000 dog tags throughout the forest where the tips come from to make the wreaths with the names of people who've served the country. And it's a living memorial. There's actually a 7-acre plot that has a dog tag for every Medal of Honor recipient since that program was created. And that's a great teaching tool for the kids to go out and walk among the trees and read those names. So it just continues to grow. Where, like I say, we're busy all year round. We have a small museum here of things that have been gifted to Wreaths Across America. But the most precious thing that's been gifted to Wreaths Across America are the stories of those who served and sacrificed, the stories of Gold Star families who, you would think people who had lost the most would not necessarily be the most patriotic, but it's just, and I don't have to tell you that, it's just the opposite. There's nobody more patriotic than a Gold Star family. And they teach us every day. So what we do year round is to try to gather up all the stories, all the patriotism, all the reasons, as Roger said, for the kids to love this country, and share those stories through our Facebook, through our radio, through our website. That's what's important. The stories, when people hear the stories, it touches them and they want to be part of what we do.
And you're exactly right on the Gold Star families. They're full of incredible strength and patriotism. And it's very hard. It's very emotional. As I'm very connected with so many across the country, even those that I've even had on the program. And, it makes you think, about life and about liberty and everything else in between that makes America what America is, and the blood that has been shed. And, again, the remembrance that is put into place here for that one special, massive day of remembrance. It is something that is very unique. And it is very special. Folks, how can you support the mission? Simple. Go to wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org. And how can you help? Well, you can sponsor a wreath. Typically, people will do one wreath individual sponsorship, which is $17. You can get 2 wreaths for $34. You can get 5 for $85. And the most popular is 10 wreaths for $170. Or if you are a large corporation, or if you're a large nonprofit and you guys have some cash that you would like to donate, you can even do a custom number of wreaths for as much as you want. And I'm sure that figure will be, settled between you and Wreaths Across America. to get your sport out there to help these fallen across our country. And I wanted to mention one thing real fast here, and I know you're very busy, but I have a friend, and he's the owner of Patch Ops, and he's also one of my show sponsors. And today I wake up and I see his post on Facebook. And this is what Timothy Hickey writes. He goes, "Update. You guys are awesome. We have hit and exceeded our goal." Okay, well, I start to read more. "I haven't even mentioned that we agreed to sponsor a group because there wasn't one for the cemetery where Kyle McKee rests. Steve McKee made sure that wasn't going to be the case this year. You can continue to buy wreaths as every single one is laid on a hero. Please join us on December 16th when we all go to place these wreaths. We have our boys place them and read each name out loud to honor the sacrifices made. It's humbling, but we can never, ever let these names be silent, for without them, we would not be free." And now Patch Ops only has 8 more to go to reach their goal. And
Wow.
folks, let me tell you, I've never seen them post anything about Wreaths Across America. And then all of a sudden on October the 4th, I've got the co-founder on my show the same day that Patch Ops has put this post out. And I'm getting goosebumps now just explaining this. So folks, go to patchops.com. And you could send them a message if you want to help them, folks. They are only 8 short of their goal. And this is an amazing company. They also do a lot of work within the homeless community in the Cleveland, Ohio area with Sub-Zero Mission. And talk about a veteran-owned company and a veteran-owned nonprofit that is out there making a difference in the lives of veterans and, are fallen every single day. So folks, if you guys want to go check out patchops.com, please do so. Send them a message and get them across the finish line to get those other 8 wreaths taken care of so they can have a mission of success, if you will, out there on December 16th. And another thing that spoke directly to me in this message was their children. Their kids are going to be out there laying these wreaths because it is a very special moment. Because once kids can understand that, wow, these men and women fought for our liberty and our freedom, and they're no longer with us. But this is a day of remembrance, and they are going to get a wreath, and we are not going to forget them during the holiday season, is something, again, that these children will forever take with them. And I think every kid in America should participate in this because it is so, I mean, again, the goosebumps that I get just speaking about this is something that really makes my heart just warm. You know what I mean? It's that love and the sincerity behind it. And
It does your heart good. It does your heart good to get involved and to be at the cemetery. And I don't know if you have time, but I always tell this little story about being down at Section 60, and the wreaths were all laid, and there were a lot of people. Section 60 is where most of the more current burials are. And this woman came up to me. She had 2 little kids. One was walking around, probably 4, and the other one was just a baby on her hip. And they had snowsuits on, they were bundled right up. And I always laugh because I remember their sleeves being all shiny for them, like wiping the nose on their sleeves. But they were there because that's where their father was. That's where they were spending their Christmas. They literally were there. And if you go there on Wreaths Across America Day, you'll see, even if there's snow, there are people sitting in lawn chairs and stones with bottles of beer propped up on them. But anyway, the woman recognized us, and she came to thank my husband and I. And the little boy wanted us to see his daddy's stone. And I'll tell you, that gets you right here. And you see the pictures, and they're all up against the front, and the bow is all on the top, and it looks so neat. But he wanted something different for Daddy, so he took me by the hand, and we walked over to the grave, and he had laid his father's his wreath, flat on top. So it was like a hat on the stone, and it was up here. And he was just as proud. And I just remember looking around and thinking that, boy, the sacrifice of that family, we need to embrace them, but mostly we need to help our own children. And those of us that are here remember, I always quote Pericles, so quote's been around a long time, that it isn't what's left on a stone, what's engraved on stone that matters. It's what we weave into the hearts of others while we're here. So it's necessary for us as adults and as Americans to weave love of country and love of each other and a spirit of responsibility for freedom into the hearts of our kids. That's how we survive as a country, as a free country.
And now more than ever, that definitely rings true. Sovereignty is everything. Freedom is everything. And without it, we're not a country. And so we do need to remember, again, our fallen, as they have given everything for us to live a life of prosperity. And that is extremely important and very heartfelt. And, again, I can't thank you enough for joining us today, Karen Wusta, because what you and your family have done, it's remarkable. And I know you don't like to get a lot of the credit, but again, it was the vision, that your husband had that he put into fruition and now has, again, morphed into something that was probably bigger than what he could have ever imagined. Looking back at.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And we thank God. He's blessed us as a family, and thank the American people for just knowing how important it is. And thank you and people like you that help us spread the word. It takes everybody to make this happen.
Absolutely. And the veteran community helps the veteran community, the military community. I mean, we're a small community, really 20 million American veterans out there, that really have got to buckle down to make so many things happen, whether it's, nonprofits that are help saving veterans that are suffering from the wounds of war and post-traumatic stress, all the way down to laying a wreath during the holiday season and that day of remembrance. Folks, you can help Wreaths Across America. You can help support the mission today by going to wreathsacrossamerica.org. That's wreathsacrossamerica.org. You can also go check out their radio station by doing the same thing. Go to the website and click Wreaths Across America Radio. Like Karen was saying, they have dozens and dozens of veteran podcasters out there that are putting out shows. They have time slots and specific shows that will help you overcome, some life challenges or put good information out there for Gold Star families. Give it a shot. Typically, I listen on the Odyssey app. I think is the best place to get the Wreaths Across America radio. By just, again, simply going to the Odyssey app and downloading it today. And you can listen to so many great veterans out there that have these awesome shows that you will definitely relate to. Now, folks, December 16th, put it on your calendar and go out and find a cemetery that's close to you that is participating in this day of remembrance, where they will be laying, the country as a whole will be laying anywhere between 2 to 3 million wreaths this year. And again, they couldn't do it without the help of the supporters. 3 million volunteers in 300 logistical trucks, the freight team, the trucks, everything that puts this deal together. So again, without you, this would not be possible. So, ma'am, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for everything that you do within the veteran and the military community. You and your husband and your family, your service and your sacrifice to this great nation is truly admirable.
Thank you. And you come up and see us sometime. We'll get you that lobster.
Woofsta. Lobster. Right? Lobster?
Right. That's right.
I love me some lobster bisque. What about clam chowder?
Yeah, we got that too. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Folks, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the program. It has never been easier to listen to this podcast. Like I was mentioning before, we are on Wreaths Across America Radio. We are on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TikTok, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Folks, again, it has never been easier to engage with the Today with Tally podcast. Simply search Today with Tally. Also, learn more about me and my personal story, and perhaps even get my new book at briantally.com. That's briantally.com. Folks, remember to stay inspired, stay encouraged, stay motivated, and always stay in the fight. Until next time, for the Today with Tally podcast, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God bless.